Hello everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is Futch. Thank you very much for joining me. I got a special sneak preview for you today of a new spin-off series of Dulcimerica called Dulcimerica Deluxe. So what's the difference between the two of these? Well, first of all, Dulcimerica for 13 years has been freely available on YouTube, and it will continue to be. Dulcimerica Deluxe is exclusively only on Patreon, and the other thing that makes it different is, well, Dulcimerica is typically a 25 to even a 40-minute episode where I demonstrate a song or a basic concept, and then I sort of add a bunch of other things into the mix as that light is shown upon whatever it is I'm talking about. It's off the top of my head, it's free-flowing, I have a basic lesson plan, but I stuff each episode full of a lot of things. Dulcimerica Deluxe takes one basic concept and boils it down to its essentials. I use on-screen graphics, scripts, and a very uncluttered visual display and design so that you can very quickly get the information that you're looking for and then move on to the next module. Now I do this in 3 different tracks. One is a novice beginner track, one is intermediate, and one is advanced. So whenever you see the module numbers, each video is called a module, you'll see the date, and then at the end you'll see a number, 1, 2, or 3, that indicates whether it is for beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Once you look through the guide, you'll be able to pick and choose what you want to learn about, whether it be how to tune, how to finger pick, understanding the modes, learning a tune, whatever it might be. You can choose your own learning path through this series of very short 5 to 10 minute videos that get to the point and then move on. So I've already shot a number of these. I'd like to see what you think about them, so here are some excerpts from what is already available on Patreon, and I'll be back on the flip side to tell you more.
Hello and welcome. This is Dulcimerica Deluxe. If you're new to the Appalachian Mountain Dulcimer, welcome to the family. Let's take a look at the anatomy of the instrument so you'll have a clear understanding of all the different parts. At the head of the instrument is the headstock. Next, we have the tuners, and the strings wrap around them at the head of the dulcimer. From there, the strings pass through slots in the nut and stretch across the fretboard, which is marked in sections by frets. You may also have fret markers. The strings eventually pass through slots in the bridge and are attached at the tail of the dulcimer. For some time, you might be interested to know some of the many factors that can change the sound of the instrument. 2 of the most common shapes are the teardrop and the hourglass. The hourglass could be considered the more popular of the 2, consisting of an upper bout and a lower bout that are often the same dimensions. Some dulcimers feature a much larger lower bout that helps in producing a warmer tone with added volume and sustain. When the strings are plucked or strummed, vibrations move in waves through the interior of the instrument. The waist of an hourglass dulcimer, with its narrowing sides, can act as a partial bottleneck for vibrations, so the upper and lower bouts often serve as their own individual sound spaces. Some of the many different types of dulcimers that are available. Well, get ready, because we're going to take a whirlwind tour through 10 common variations, starting with number 1, the baritone. This seems to be the first stop for a lot of players looking to get into a different tonal range. Often tuned AEA, the baritone uses thicker strings and delivers a warm, rich tone that just makes everything sound really sweet and mellow. You can convert your standard dulcimer to a baritone easily by making sure the nut and bridge are wide enough for the heavier string gauges. Number 2, the bass. Everyone's always looking for a bass player, which is part of the reason that a growing number of players are now using bass dulcimers with their groups and ensembles. Super thick strings create the low-end sound which can, once again, work with a standard dulcimer body. From tuning, retuning, and playing, so it's good to slap a fresh set on when you can. The string gauge has to do with the thickness of the string. An average size mountain dulcimer with a 27 to 28 inch vibrating string length, or VSL, sounds great with a .013 on the melody string, .016 on the middle string, and a .026 on the bass string. Lighter gauges produce higher tones, are easier to play, break more easily, and can create fret buzz. Heavier gauges produce lower tones, are more difficult to play, and produce more volume and sustain. You can use regular acoustic or electric guitar strings, which are available individually or in a multi-pack. Be sure to check if your current strings are loop end or ball end, so you can easily reinstall them, or the use of a slide. The material of the nut and bridge also plays a part in the sound. Plastic components like corian and micarta are commonly used, but they don't sound nearly as good as bone, which is hard, dense, and light. Your setup needs will differ if you get jumbo frets, which are thicker than standard frets and stand higher on the fretboard. Many players find that jumbo frets make it smoother and easier to play. Finally, the fretboard itself may be made of the same wood as your dulcimer, but another option is to get a fingerboard overlay to further enhance the playing experience. Many different types of wood can be used for decorative purposes, but can feel rough and make it difficult to slide your fingers across. Ebony overlay is highly prized for its hardness and smoothness, making it feel just slick enough to ease in moving across the instrument. See the lack of tension in the middle string? By increasing the middle string gauge from .013 to .015, I'm creating a more balanced feel across all the strings. Finding the right gauges takes a bit of trial and effort, but the end results are well worth it. There are a number of different string options out there, from powder-coated strings that reduce squeak to colored strings and even nylon and gut strings for a more classical guitar sound. There are also lots of different brands to choose from. JustStrings.com is a great place to pick up packets of individual strings and have them shipped right to yourself. In order to play with other instruments, though, you'll need to be a little more precise, and that's where a tuner comes in. In order for different instruments to play well with one another, we use something called concert pitch, which is a sort of universal tone or frequency. For Western music, the standard pitch is A440. Anything that makes a sound sends a vibration through the air, and this vibration can be measured in hertz or cycles per second. Lower sounds like thunder, tubas, and foghorns have a low frequency of around 20 to 40 hertz, while higher sounds like shattering glass, piccolos, and bird chirps have a higher frequency of 5,000 to 10,000 hertz. A440 is the A above middle C on the piano, which has a frequency of 440 hertz, or 440 cycles per second. To make sure that your dulcimer will be in tune with other instruments, you can use an electronic tuner. It is an extremely versatile instrument. It's most commonly played with a bass string, middle string, and a double melody string. Traditionally, the dulcimer was played in a melody drone style with just 3 strings. The 2 drone strings, bass and middle, also called the treble, often overpowered the melody, so a 4th string was added right next to it. This double melody string is unique to the mountain dulcimer and is a big part of the instrument's traditional sound. Advancements in the quality of instruments and modern playing techniques have made the double melody unnecessary, and many prefer to remove one of the pair for a more balanced sound and easier embellishments like hammer-ons, pull-offs, trills, and bends. AEA tuning comes from, we have to look at the 7 modern modes. The mountain dulcimer in its purest form is a diatonic instrument. Diatonic basically means according to the key. The key signature lets us know which notes are flat or sharp or natural, and the scale for that key is what we end up with. The key determines how the scale will sound. Modes don't get their distinct personalities from any key signature. Instead, they are the result of starting from different notes within the scale. For example, starting from the first note of the scale will result in the Ionian mode. Starting from the second note of the scale results in the Dorian mode, and so on through all 7 modes. Their starting position within the scale, not the key, is what determines each mode's unique quirks. Where scales and modes are similar is that they both have 7 notes and are made up of a series of whole steps and half steps relative to the chromatic scale. On the mountain dulcimer, we have wide spaces between frets, which are whole steps, and narrow spaces between frets, which are half steps. It takes 2 half steps to make a whole step, but you don't need to know any of that to play the modes on the mountain dulcimer. Just play 7 notes in a row from anywhere on a diatonic. The word plectrum comes from the ancient Greek word plektron, which means simply anything to strike with. For the mountain dulcimer, this has included turkey feathers, pieces of leather, cutout lids from plastic butter tubs, and the standard guitar pick. Now think of the pick like a pair of shoes. We have shoes for exercise and shoes for the beach. We have dress shoes, work boots, and bedtime slippers. And then there's always a pair that you can wear anywhere. Your pick should be an all-purpose tool, allowing you to strum loud and soft, fast and slow, all strings at once or one at a time. Feel good in your fingers and give you the sound that you're looking for. With that in mind, here are 5 things to keep in mind as you're selecting a plectrum. Number 1 is thickness. Picks typically range between thin and medium to heavy and extra heavy. Thin picks create brighter tones by emphasizing high frequencies, and their flex limits volume. Thick picks with rounder edges offer more bass response, more volume, and better control, speed, and accuracy. Hello and welcome. This is Dulcimerica Deluxe. Fingerpicking the mountain dulcimer brings an elegance of style and expression. This approach immediately calls to mind 16th century Renaissance music and the ballads and airs of Celtic lore. It's not as hard as you might think, but it does take some getting used to. Here's one approach. I anchor my thumb on the melody string coming at it from my side of the dulcimer. Use my index finger to pick the middle string towards me, and my middle finger picks the bass string towards me as well. If I just squeeze my thumb and fingers together, pinch it, and pull off, I get a plucked chord, which is really cool. Now I'll do a roll from bass to middle, to melody to middle, and back to bass. And I got a nice little arpeggiated figure that'll work with any chord. Now I'll just roll in one direction, 3 notes. Great for 3/4 time, 6/8 time, and 12/8 time. And if I ever need a full chord, I can either pinch it or I can use a finger to brush across the strings. While you're doing this, try to work in a little bit of melody, change up the rhythm, just live with it for a while and let the muscle memory start imprinting all of these movements in discovery.
And there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at some of those episodes called modules in Dulcimerica Deluxe. Once again, I aim to have 30 of these done before I go on summer tour, and then 30 more will be done after I get back from summer tour. This is an ongoing project, and I'm really looking forward to hearing a lot of feedback to find out what you would like to be learning during this series. So once again, this is exclusively available to patrons on Patreon, and if you want to find out more about what that's all about, come visit the open house at patreon.com/bingfutch. Right there at the top, you'll see all the different tags that you can follow. The open house tag has over 400 posts where you can download to your heart's content, all kinds of free stuff, and then decide if you'd like to join my Patreon community. Once again, that's patreon.com/bingfutch. I'll be back next week with more, a lot more than the usual Dulcimerica stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you then.